I'm Tanner Olson, and this is the Walk a Little Slower podcast. Here, we talk about hope and heaviness, creating and continuing joy and sorrow, life and God, questions and answers, and everything in between. This is a podcast where you are invited to slow down, to lean in, to hold fast, and to eventually keep going. Welcome. Welcome back to another episode of the Walk a Little Slower podcast. It's a special episode. And I know what you're thinking. Tanner, isn't every episode a special episode? Well, you are correct, but this is a super special episode. It's episode 50, and it's the 10-year anniversary of Written to Speak. And on this episode, what I wanted to do is to share 10 things that I have learned about creating and living, about being an artist, a full-time independent creative, and how all the things I've learned with doing that. So let's just jump right into it. Here is episode 50 of the Walk a Little Slower podcast. Ten years ago, I decided I was going to be a writer. I quit putting this dream on hold and jumped into the unknown. So on January 31st, 2013, I started a blog under the name of Written to Speak. I created a Facebook page under the same name and began inviting friend after friend to like the page. I did not know what I was doing, but I was doing it. Before I jump into the 10 things that I have learned in 10 years, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting and for riding with me over these years. And some of you have been with me from the very beginning, and some of you are brand new to my work, my writing, to Written to Speak. But I just want to say thank you. Thank you for being part of this ministry. Thank you for buying my books and sharing my work online. Thank you for coming to shows and inviting me to speak and share poetry at your events. Thank you for your donations and for joining my Patreon. Shout out patrons. Thank you for your messages and your kindness and your loving support that has changed me completely. So thank you for being you to me, because it has, it's meant the world. So thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Here are a few things that I have learned in the past 10 years. Number one, give it time. You will not be where you want to be overnight. You will not be the artist or creator you want to be right away. All of this, it takes time, and you need time. When I first started as a writer, I was naive enough to think that I would be a well-known writer and poet in a matter of posts. I thought I would write one really great poem that would go viral, and after that, everyone would know my name. I thought that book deals would roll in and that speaking gigs would just come to my front door. And thankfully, it didn't happen this way. I wouldn't have been ready and would not have known what to do or how to handle myself had fame found me like that. So let yourself go slowly. Take small, faithful steps forward. Keep your eyes open and your prayers honest. Second thing, you can't do this alone. You might think that you can, but I'm here to tell you that you cannot, and you should not. You should not do this alone. We were not created to create alone. We were not created to do life alone. So ask for help. Offer help. Pay for help. Give what you can. I once paid a friend with a pair of pants. I had an extra pair of pants. I hadn't been worn them before. And I said, I don't have money right now, but if you want these pair of pants, will you please take some photos for me? Adam, thank you so very much. But it's all that I had. Invite others into what you are doing. It's always better to go together than alone, and you do not have to do this alone. When I was a little boy, I hated, and I still do, I hate knocking on doors, even of the houses of people who I knew lived there. I didn't want to be a bother. I didn't want to interrupt. I didn't want to get in the way. And maybe you feel the same way. But let me remind you of this. You aren't a burden, and you aren't a bother. You aren't getting in the way. Knock on the door. Ask for help. Not only will this make you better, make your work better, this will strengthen your foundation, deepen your community, and encourage you to continue. Have people around you. The third thing, if you're willing to be bad at something, you might just become good at it. I know you've heard me say that before, and you're going to hear me say it again in the future. After all, you don't know what you don't know. Sometimes you have to travel down roads to realize you are going the wrong direction. And no one is expecting you to be an expert. Make your mistakes, try new things, stumble and struggle, get frustrated, make changes, give up, but start again. These growing pains are making you into a better writer, into a better creator. And it might just change your life. Number 4, there's no such thing as making it. I was 2 years into my writing career when I told a stranger that I was a writer. I never told anybody that before. She was in her 60s, and she asked me what I wrote, and I told her that I wrote poetry and short thoughts, and she asked me if I was published. I told her I wasn't. And she responded with, "Oh, so you want to be a writer, but you aren't one yet." And I did not know how to respond. I didn't. But I know how to respond now. And what I would have said to her is, "No, ma'am, I am a writer. I am a writer." You see, if you write, you are a writer. You don't have to be published or have your book in stores or thousands of views on your blog. If you write, you are a writer. And as a writer, you should know that there's no finish line. There are a million different checkpoints, but there is not a finish line. You will not, quote unquote, make it, and that is a gift. There will be moments to celebrate along the way, and you should celebrate every single win. Every release, every joy, every positive change. Creating is not about making it, and it's not about reaching a finish line. It's about continuing to show up and give what you have. So keep showing up and keep giving what you have, even if others don't think you're a real writer or creator. Let them think what they want to think. You keep doing the thing that you believe that God has invited you to do. Number 5, stop comparing and start learning. You are not racing someone else. There will be days when you feel stuck and behind. That is normal. Go ahead and feel that way. But you are not in competition with someone else. You are not racing other writers or other creators. Instead of comparing yourself, learn from those who are doing similar work. Watch what they do. Study their success. Observe their patterns. When I was in high school, my basketball coach, he gave me a nickname. He called me Steve Nash Jr. because I played like NBA star Steve Nash. Not as good, let's be honest, not anywhere near as good, but I mimicked his game. So Steve Nash was an MVP point guard in the NBA. He was an incredible passer and leader, and I wanted to be like him. And so the reason that I played like Steve Nash is because I watched Steve Nash. I studied his highlights. I watched his games. I learned from Steve Nash. I wanted to be like him, but I wasn't him. And you cannot be someone else, but you can learn from someone else. You can learn how they do what they do and why they do it. Don't steal, don't plagiarize, but learn and implement. Be you as you learn from them. But don't compare yourself. Don't do that. That only takes you further away from where you want to be. Be you as you create and continue. Number 6, stop grinding, start resting. It took me 8.5 years to learn how vital rest is. Jesus talks about it, and I should have listened more closely. Resting is trusting. Trusting that God can do more in 6 days than I can in 7. Trusting that this is what He has invited me into, and if that's true, then I can respond with rest. Now, rest is not a reward for working. Rest is where we begin. Rest is not a reward for when you reach the end. It is the beginning. So rest. Rest will improve your work and your life. Start with rest, and the rest will come. Number 7, not everyone will like what you create or understand why you are doing what you are doing. In 2014, a year after starting Written to Speak, a friend stopped talking to me. I didn't understand why. It eventually got back to me that the reason why was because I started Written to Speak. They didn't like my poetry or how I was going about my new dream. Apparently, they thought that I was trying to be someone that I wasn't. And truthfully, it was a little hurtful. But here's the thing, is you cannot make someone stay or give up on what you believe God has invited you into because of how someone else feels. Not everyone will understand why you are writing or why you are painting or why you're recording music or whatever it is that you are doing, and that's okay. Not every friend will be a fan, and that's okay. Not every friend will be a follower, and that's okay. Do the work that God invited you to do. Do it faithfully. Don't do it for accolades or for people to like you or for your friends to follow along. You don't have to do it for that. Do it because this is the thing that you're supposed to be doing. Number 8, what you do is not your identity. If you ask me what I do, I will tell you that I am a writer. This is what I do, but it is not who I am. My identity is not in what I do, but it's in who Jesus says that I am. So don't lose yourself to your work and forget what is true. Your value is not based on what you create or how much you make or how many followers you have. You are who God says you are. And he says that you are loved. He says that you are chosen. He says that you are redeemed. He says that you are a new creation. Now let this truth lead you to create and sustain you as you create. Create out of this confidence. Number 9, be consistent. The only way forward is with consistency. Keep a steady pace as you set your sights forward. You got to remain committed, remain steadfast. One of the biggest mistakes I made in the beginning of my career was only writing when I felt inspired. To become good at anything, you have to just stick with it. If you want to get in better shape, you cannot just work out when you feel like working out. You have to work out when you don't want to work out. For some of us, we never want to work out. The same is true with writing and creating. Sometimes you just have to breathe in deep and do the dang thing. Right? Turn off the TV, put down the phone, put your butt in the chair, and just get to writing, get to creating. Go ahead and create something bad. Go ahead and create something terrible. And when you're done, I guarantee you're going to be thankful that you did. Sometimes you just have to get rid of all the bad so that you can get to the good. Like dump all the puzzle pieces out and get to putting it together, and you'll see that something is better than nothing. All right, last one, number 10. Expect nothing, and everything is a gift. This is something that my mom preached to my brother and I since we were little boys. I love it. It's something that I need to hear, and I'll always need to hear it. I come back to these words. And the words are this: give what you have and give it again. Expect nothing in return. Give because God freely gave to you. He gave you these gifts and dreams and desires. Give what you have and give it again. Expect nothing, and everything is a gift. All right. Well, those are the 10 things that I've learned over the last 10 years. I could probably have written 100 things that I've learned, but I think this is probably a good place to stop. But again, just thank you so much for supporting my work. And as always, if you would like to support my work, you can join my Patreon today. This is a way to help this ministry continue forward. You can visit patreon.com/written to speak to become a patron. Your monthly donation, it allows me to spread hope and announce love through written and spoken word. Again, thank you so much for listening to the Walk a Little Slower podcast. Special thanks to my good friend Matt Daring for creating the music for this podcast. That's right. You're thinking back on the podcast episode, I asked for his help. I always ask for Matt's help. He's great at it. And you can visit writtentospeak.com to check out the latest blog, grab books, or to book me for an event. And if you want to just send me a message, you can do it from there as well. All right. That'll do it for this episode of the Walk a Little Slower podcast. Thank you so much for these last 10 years. I look forward to the next 10 years. Much love to you all. Really appreciate you. Have a good week.